And I was muted. Thank you. So to come back again, thank you everyone for joining us today now that you can hear me. It's so exciting to have all of you here with us today. Thanks, huge thanks to the tech team, to our presenters. I have the tech team boxing me here saying a big thank you. And very, very soon we have an amazing closing session here for you. So before we move over to the closing, just a couple of big thank yous and then some special announcements, including our date and keynote information for next time. So as I said, super huge thanks. If you could, please go on to the All-Star Tech Team link on our webpage. There's a bunch of Twitter handles of all the amazing people that helped make today possible. And one special thing to know is that they also not only ran today, but all of these volunteers were amazing educators in their own right, also gave time to help prepare all of our presenters as well. So a huge, huge thank you to all of you. You make this possible. And a big thanks as well to all of the presenters today who gave up their time, including students. Some sessions even worked through some tech glitches with grace. So thank you for that. The internets are so wonderful and so difficult all at the same time. So thank you for that as well too. One big announcement from us at the Educator Collaborative in celebration of our gathering, and also because the deadline for our many of our offerings for this next year is closing very, very soon. If you'd like to join us this year in our virtual think tanks or in our study series, virtual think tanks are year-long intensive online cohorts that study together. I'm leading one with Kate Roberts on K-2 close reading. Kristen Zemke and Catherine Hale are leading one on literacy and technology and amazing integration with those and ways of doing it in a really child-centered way. And Dr. Dana Stokoyak is leading one on really heartfelt instructional leadership and ways that coaches and instructional coaches can support teachers and study themselves while studying others. Those will have a 20% discount, and our study series, that's 12 amazing sessions of folks all year long that you can share with your team. So one seat for you, you can share it with everyone else at your school. All of those have this 20% discount going on starting today, right now, through through October 3rd, and 20% off of everything, which actually is like hundreds of dollars in savings. So we invite you to do that. Okay, so April, every fall and spring, we have this gathering. So our next spring gathering, here's the official date. So mark your calendars now. It's Saturday, April 8th, 2017. And drum roll, our keynote for that day is an amazing panel. Phil Bildner, Elizabeth Acevedo, and Bambi Rude Perkovic are doing an incredible session on celebrating student voice. Likely these are names you know and love, and if you don't already know and love them, I'm going to make sure you know and love them right now, and you'll definitely want to see them back in April. So all three are incredible authors, writers, poets who really work hard to share their identity, share students' identities, and really live the idea of we need diverse text every day. They not only are incredible authors, and honestly, if I had to fit all of their titles on a page, I would not have enough room, or they'd be very, very small. So in addition to them just being incredible folks, and here's just a few of their titles, they also are activists. They are authors and writers and poets who believe in not shying away from being political, from doing the sorts of things that we've been talking about throughout the day. So for example, oops, I'm hearing that maybe folks aren't seeing the slides, so let me take this down, see if I can put it back up again. One thing that these folks do that is incredibly amazing, and the reason why we're so excited to have them, here I'm gonna hope for the best, otherwise I'll give up on the slide. One thing that they do that's incredibly amazing is that they work to not only tell great stories, but to make the story of our classrooms and our world stronger and better. When North Carolina came out with their damaging bathroom law, when the governor signed that into law, Phil Bildner was one of 200 plus, almost 300 authors and illustrators, and Phil helped to organize this letter to North Carolina's readers. They're members of We Need Diverse Books, the Brown Bookshelf. Elizabeth Acevedo not only does incredible or spoken word poetry, but also is just an incredible leader in her own right. And I'm getting notes from our tech team that visuals aren't working, so I'll give up on that. So they are just incredible, incredible people. So we hope that you will join us and be along with us on September 8th for that. We also need you. This day is built around educators like you sharing your story, sharing your ideas, sharing your identity, sharing your beliefs with the world. And so right now on our main page, refresh it if you don't see it, there's a little banner across the top that will take you directly to two things. You either can submit a proposal starting right now, this very second, and then for now until December 15th, or you can apply to join our tech team. So either one of those are there for you. The tech team helps to make this day really happen, and so we'd love if you joined us. If you are a person who likes working with others, likes to take on challenges, likes to solve technology troubles, and just likes to be in like a really good community that boxes together constantly, the tech team is a good place for you, and we really need you. Without tech folks, this day couldn't happen. Or if you'd like to submit a proposal, there's lots of ideas and suggestions on what makes for a strong proposal with us. So the proposal system is open right now and is available now through December 15th at midnight. So get thinking, get brave, and please, please, please do join us. So I started this morning talking about the importance of us choosing to be political. That is a part of our human lives. That's a part of our human identity. That sometimes as educators, some of us, and I know I've felt this way at times, feel like we need to leave that side of us at the door, whether because we're asked to, or we're in a community that makes us feel like we should. That political being, the way that we believe the world should be, sometimes we leave aside, and we can't. Those are things that we no longer, I mean, frankly, we never should have, but more now than ever, we can't leave aside. When we've experienced recently murders of Terrence Crutcher, Keith Lamont Scott, that unfortunately are added to a long list of Black men who have been murdered by police. When we have the Standing Rock Sioux gathering together with native tribes to fight back against a pipeline that's has already dug up some of their sacred burial grounds and now is trying to go through their water supply and their land. They're standing up against that. When we're inside, for those of you here in the US, when we're inside of an incredibly contentious and damaging political atmosphere right now, all of these things around us are becoming predictable. They're becoming the way that things are. And if we don't choose to be political, things become predictable. So I'd like to remind you again from this morning and to ask you to consider continuing to expand your own bubble, to try to connect with people that you often don't. Twitter is a great place for that, where you can even like listen into conversations that maybe normally you aren't in. To listen and to act, because we need it. That part of you that has strong beliefs about the way that the world works and that the way that the world should go, and that makes you incensed when things aren't that way, we need you to be loud. And so that is actually a perfect segue to this incredible group of educators that we have gathered here. The International Literacy Association is now in their second year of their 30 under 30 honorees, and I am absolutely delighted and excited to begin this conversation with some folks that are able to join us. As you can see on the screen, 30 under 30 means there's at least 60 folks, so not everyone's here, but an awfully amazing set of everyone. So I'm going to first turn it over to Wes Ford with ILA, who's going to tell you a little bit more about 30 under 30, and then that will kick off our conversation. So welcome, Wes.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the ILA launched the 30 under 30 initiative in 2015, and the mission of the program is to honor the next class of leaders who are transforming classrooms, the community, and just the world through literacy. And our second annual list of honorees was released earlier this month. These are people who are carrying on our mission to advance literacy worldwide. And to see both the 2015 and the 2016 lists, you can check out our Literacy Today page on literacyworldwide.org. And at the end of this panel, I'll be providing information on how to submit nominations for next year's list, because we're always looking to find out from everyone who they feel should be the next literacy leaders. And here with us today, we have two honorees from our inaugural list last year, Sheun Aino and Marique Dougherty, along with 5 honorees from this year's list: Michelle Brown, Alex Corbett, Annalie Hirschman, Surya Karik, and John Maldonado. And I apologize if I messed up anyone's names there. But why doesn't everyone just spend a brief minute telling us about themselves and the work they do? And we can start with Sheun.
Hello, everyone. My name is Oluwaseun Aino. The short form is Sheun. I run a social enterprise called Magical Books. Magical Books is a social enterprise that promotes healthy reading habits and lifelong learning attitudes amongst children and young adults. We organize different programs which include reading clubs in schools and in reading centers. We also organize challenges for children between ages of 4 to 13. We have different programs that we organize via the social media. We use Twitter and Facebook to promote different issues on literacy, which span from financial issues to health issues. We just try to promote literacy through these platforms. Thank you.
I want to pass it, I guess, on to Michelle. Michelle, you want to go next?
Sure. Can everyone hear me? Awesome. So I'm really excited to be here. My name is Michelle Brown. I am the founder and CEO of Common Lit. That is commonlit.org, which is a nonprofit ed tech company that I founded back in 2013. And the idea came actually came from my own experience and frustration in the classroom when I taught in a very poor rural school in Mississippi and just felt completely cut out from the ed tech revolution and was just frankly just really frustrated by the resource disparity that I saw. So I'm excited to be here.
All right, Alex, how about you?
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Alex Corbett, and I'm a 7th grade teacher in the Bronx, New York, at a school called MS331, the Bronx School of Young Leaders. And some of my work over the past few years has involved facilitating authentic literacy experiences in the classroom, kind of gamifying teaching, and then also providing my students access to quality literature in the classroom.
Marique, you want to take the next one? Or you didn't.
Hi, everybody.
Oh.
I am Marique Dougherty and of 5 Steps Literacy. I'm from Jamaica and I enjoy materials to promote literacy. I have been a project in which I integrate literacy and technology. It's called Blogs, focused on a few boys blogging to improve their fluency. So I'm very excited about today, and my passion is obviously literacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Annalie, you want to go next?
Sure. Hello, I'm Annalie Hirschman, and I am a PhD student at the MIT Media Lab's Laboratory for Social Machines. And I'm really working on with an interdisciplinary team to develop educational tools for early readers to help promote kind of literacy learning within the community. Also really focused on how can we use these tools to actually preserve the child-driven learning, and then again connect the community back into that loop and allow for outlets of creative expression, because we believe that literacy is inherently social, and so we want to teach it that way. So we're really trying to develop these tools on low and Android phones, and also working within the communities with teachers, parents, peers. And so I'm really excited to be here.
All right, thanks. And Surya?
Hey guys, this is Surya, all the way from the other side of the hemisphere. I would say on the eastern side. I am the co-founder of something called the ILA Foundation, and I also lead United World Schools in Nepal.
We were warned that his internet connection is not always stable, so we might have just dropped him. So John, you want to just finish this up for us?
Sure. Is this working? Hello? Good? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm John Maldonado. I am a PhD student at Fordham University in their School of Ed. I was a special ed teacher for 3 years, and now I'm teaching high school English. My work over the last several years and my PhD research has to do with integrating technology into the special education classroom as a means of communication, and also as a way to get our special education students ready for careers in the field of technology.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks to everyone for being here. And yes, like we said, Surya said that where he is right now, sometimes even electricity is coming in and out, so he'll join us he can. For those of you joining, I think one thing that is so inspiring to me from this group is if we're 30 under 30, that means that we're likely anywhere from within the very first few years of teaching to probably less than 8. And in that brief amount of time, the amount of change and incredible work that all of these leaders are doing is remarkable. And I think it gives all of us the sense that we really can and should do anything, really work to make the change that we want to see. So to start out, and then anyone feel free to jump in, or you also can type if you want to make sure you get a second there. I'd like to ask, so all of you got to this place, and some of you said some of this, you got to the sort of active work that you're doing because you saw some needs. So I'm curious to hear from some of you, what feels like one of the most pressing issues in literacy or in literacy education as you see it right now? Alex, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, just connecting to how you started off, Chris, one issue that I see is we can't ask students to really love literacy if it's removed from the real world. So literacy practices that are inauthentic or irrelevant, and just trying to think about how we can bring the real world into the classroom, and how students can do the same work that adults do and kind of begin to discern their roles in society. And when students are immersed in more relevant learning practices, they will feel empowered and that they kind of have a stake in kind of what's going on with the current issues you mentioned.
I would love to jump in. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I know I talked a little bit about this, but I think I have a pretty unique perspective on ed tech and the future of ed tech. And I think that one of the biggest pressing things right now is just figuring out as a nation, as a country, how we are going to make sure that we're not leaving schools behind and that our education technology isn't increasing disparities. So that's something I'd love to talk about more. Any
others? Marique, I think you wanted to jump in.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Yes, Sean. Hi.
Okay. Sorry, can I jump in?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, of course.
I think when it comes to pressing issues in literacy, it also depends on the region or the society you're coming from. For me, I represent Nigeria, and some of the issues, the pressing issue that I see is people not learning, not seeing a need to learn after graduating from school. Like you go to school to read and pass exams. A lot of people just stop there. They don't want to continue, you know, the constant lifelong learning, which is important, because literacy is not just about finishing. You know, we have financial literacy, we have health literacy. People need to keep learning, and that's one of the things that that has really touched me. You know, I see a need for people to continue learning even after school. And for me, in my environment, that's what I stand to, you know, to do. Thank you.
And that's such a good point too, to think that the change we're trying to make, or the challenges that we make, to start locally, and sometimes that's just because I'm here, I'm around, but also really making sure that for all of us, we're engaging with the people in the communities that we're trying to support, and to really understand what are the needs of this community that's around us. I think, John, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, so I had this really, really old computer in my classroom, and the internet only kind of worked. And one of my students with autism got around the New York City Department of Education firewall and was able to watch YouTube on it. And so I thought, well, here's an opportunity. And so I was able to obtain a few iPads, some computers. And so I think the issue that I saw was a lack of access. We think of technology and technological literacy as something that's ubiquitous sort of in our global society, but especially in a privileged country like America. But, you know, in Brooklyn, depending on what community you go in and across the nation, it's not really the case. And so my motivation was to get my kids access to technology so that they could, you know, use the skills that they had, because they definitely had skills in terms of technological literacy, and computers, iPads, things like that just makes sense to them. Students with autism need a very cause and effect relationship between their actions and what they receive back to them, and technology does that. And so it was important for me that I got my students access to that stuff in order to give them more opportunities, because their opportunities are so limited as it is.
And could you say, I know, Surya, you're going to jump in next. Could you just say, so how did you do some of that? How did you give them access for those of us that are facing that same challenge?
Sure. So Donors Choose, which is, I'm sure almost everyone who's watching or on the panel knows about. Yeah, and just really marketing my Donors Choose page, and, you know, making sure that everyone I knew that I was raising money for my students, and for the opportunity for them to gain the knowledge and skills necessary for them to have successful careers.
And Surya, I saw you wanted to jump in.
So in regards to what's the biggest problem in literacy, I think something we need to consider is there are 53 million children that do not have access to education. So like any form of education that we can think about. And it really depends on context and places that we are from. So it's time to really talk about Nepal or any part of any country that's on this part of the world. I would certainly say the quality of education. You know, why do you want to go to school? Why is it so important to go to school? Like, why would you even want to go to school just without really helping your parents in the farms, or just spending time with your friends? Like, the very meaning of education is important. You know, it's like something that is defined by somebody who's gone to school is not what is really the answer. It should be, or it should come to the child in a way that the child realizes, you know, if I go to school, it's not for, you know, just to learn ABCs or something else.
And can I follow up with that? And also, we're getting a few, if you could speak a little bit louder. So how do you do that? I mean, that's such an important point. For some of us, it's about technology access. And you're saying for a lot of students in your community, it's just like believing that they even should go to school, period. So what are you doing around that?
Yeah, so firstly, we build schools for sure, but schools we build it around the child. We build classrooms that really are child friendly. And when we bring in children, we make sure that the education is not rigid. When I'm really talking about rigid, it really means it's not, you know, memorization. It's not, it's play and learn. and children are interested in doing whatever they do. When they're at home, they really help farmers. They're farmers. They work with animals. They work with mud. They work with soil. You know, depending on the context that we work in. Like when I'm really talking about what about access to education and all of these things, I'm really saying people in the most rural parts of the world. So these people are really, like, you know, I would certainly say they are people that want to go to school but don't really realize where they want to go to school. So how do you do that? You bring home to school, you know, like that's what you do. And what we do is we make sure that the school is home to them. You know, they spend most of their time that they're actually awake at school. So yeah. The short cut of what I'm answering is we make sure that the schools are child friendly, and they bring the parents to the school as well. It's not only for the children; it's for the communities. So a lot of community building inside a school that's really important to bring children to.
I mean, hearing you say that and I see a lot of nodding. It's so fascinating because while your context is different, it's exactly what I know in schools that I work in. I work largely in urban schools, some suburban schools. We have a similar way of going about trying to solve it. Like, how do we make a school more connected, and how do we bring families more into that? That's just so fascinating. Anelli, Marique, how about we go in that order? Anelli, then Marique.
Sure. I actually wanted to follow up because I'm seeing a big theme here, and I agree with a lot of it, or with all of it, around kind of really contextualized learning and being able to kind of bring the content that is really meaningful, personally meaningful for children. I think there's a big piece of being just disenfranchised with the typical process of how we view learning now. And you know, you see so many really young kids who are just so curious about the world and so excited. And I think, you know, we tend to think of school as something that almost like beats it out of them, but I don't think it really is that way down at the core. And there's obviously so many wonderful people here, and all the things that we're saying is kind of that, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. And we want to bring that contextualized learning back into the process. And I think that there's so many ways to do that. And thinking about connecting not just the school, but the family and, you know, the context that they live in, their friends. You know, texting is a huge way that we're using literacy today, that you see so many kids using literacy. And it's just because they're very motivated. That's something that's very personally meaningful to them, is to keep up those peer connections. And so what if we could leverage that to really allow them to see that this is something I want to use in every day? And that's really going to empower me. And I think that that's really important, is really contextualizing that learning and following the interest of the child, not just thinking about like, oh, what do we want them to learn? What do they want to learn? I think is really important.
Marie. She's on a little bit of a delay with us. Marique, when you're ready, you can unmute your mic. There, hi. Are you there with us? I know internet was freezing a bit. Marique will move ahead, but then just jump in when you're ready. That's trying to be global with each other, as we also are having internet from all over the world at the same time. Yep, looks like she just dropped out. She'll jump back in. So another question for all of you, and Twitter is, I realized I stopped looking at Twitter because I'm so much in this conversation with all of you. So there's just lots of people are amazed and impressed, and they're quoting back a lot of what you're saying. I think one question is, so then how? How did you get to where you are? How do you get to this place? And so one question is, who did you mentor yourselves from, or what did you mentor yourselves from? You know, whose footsteps are you following to get to this place that you're in? And it looks like Seun, if you'd like to answer. Everyone's working on Twitter. Michelle, you could jump in if you'd like.
Hello.
And say if oh, there, good. Sam's here. Perfect, good.
Sorry. For me, when it comes to literacy, it wasn't so much of something that was popular when I finished school, because I started this literacy organization in 2009 when I finished my first degree. What was really in vogue was either you chose a major in advertising, marketing, or public relations, and literacy was something that really stood out for me. So I didn't really have people that could mentor me, but for people that really stood, in my mind, that stand in my mind right now. One of my lecturers in my school, she kept, although our field was in advertising, she felt that if I was passionate about literacy, I could go for it. And she kept encouraging me, motivating me. If I had any ideas, I always ran it through her, and she was willing to push me, give me connections, link me up with people that could help me, that could support me. My mom is also a very good mentor. I'm always able to run my ideas through her because she has a background in education. And then I also have a librarian who I came across with while I was doing my master's. And, funnily enough, she was the one that nominated me for the 30 Under 30 award. So I have people around who keep encouraging me, motivating me to keep ahead with this organization and the initiative I'm running, even if their line is not in literacy. Yeah. Thank you.
And could I ask as a follow-up to that? So one of those people, what did you learn from them that you're using today? I don't know if I maybe cut off
Hello,
for you to
please?
say. Oh, hi, yes. I don't know.
Hello,
I've been cutting off for you. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
So you cut off.
Oh, okay, all right. So
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, now you can. Okay, so my question
Yes, I can hear you,
was, so from some of those people you listed, what's something you learned from one of them that you're using today?
One thing that sticks is don't give up. Keep pushing. Even if you don't have the crowd with you, just keep pushing. Don't give up. Yeah.
Michelle, if you'd like to jump in.
Sure, yeah. So I'd love to talk about one of my early mentors. So when people ask me about Common Lit, they say, how did you come up with this? It's so cool and innovative. And I say, this is not new. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. We've read research, and these are best practices that have been around for a really long time. All we're doing is just using technology to bring it to scale so that it can reach more students. So I will talk about one early mentor that I had. It was actually in the classroom when I taught 7th grade reading. Dinah Shepard used to observe me all the time. And she said, she was the one who told me, Michelle, you need to let the kids in your class do the intellectual heavy lifting. That is what this is all about. And when you take away opportunities for kids to do the intellectual heavy lifting, they're missing out on the core of what it means to be literate and to do this practice. And so that was sort of a revelation for me, and really, was the impetus for building out Common Lit. The idea is that students at any level, even a low-skilled reader, is not a low-skilled thinker, and all students deserve to be challenged with complex texts. So that was a big revelation for me.
Nelly, would you like to? Or no, it looks like Alex. Actually, go to Alex. Marique is also back with us. Marique, when you're ready, you can jump in as well too.
Okay, so we'll hear from Marique in a second. So just to add on to Michelle, I think that another big mentor in the classroom are the students themselves. And if we're asking questions about how to make literacy relevant to students, we need to have important conversations with kids and really take inquiry very seriously and kind of figure out where they want to take their learning. So if they're interested in, issues of, policing in their community, writing letters to local politicians and visiting precincts and having those important conversations. If we're running for student government elections, actually having the speeches be a part of the lesson and having students present those, or even doing courtroom simulations in the classroom based on students or children who sometimes get in trouble in real life and kind of putting those ideas on trial. So those are a few ways that we've brought kind of relevancy into the classroom.
And could I ask that, and then Marie, we'll go to you in just a second. So who or what led you to those very smart ideas about kid learning?
I think, you know, I've had a few important mentors. My co-teacher, Grace, who we worked together in an ICT setting with a lot of planning. I had mentor Adam Fatchler, where we kind of really focused on centering students. The work of Grant Wiggins and UBD, and really putting important kind of juicy themes in front of the learning, and so students can kind of dive into that, and not just being, you know, we're reading this book now, but, you know, we're talking about mistakes and challenges, and we're going to read articles where teens have made mistakes and they're on trial, and we're going to have an interactive kind of courtroom in our classroom and kind of think about that. So yeah, lots of mentors and kind of building on the ideas of a lot of cool people.
Great, thank you. And Marie, glad your technology's brought you back again. You can jump in.
Well, for me, my mentor, I had two mentors. Are you hearing me?
Yes, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I had two mentors, especially in college. They really motivated me. They saw the true potential that I had, and we always tried to explore new methodologies and strategies that would really help children. I think one ideal aspect of motivating students in literacy is actually the use of authentic material, and I spent a year doing a paper in Jamaica on it, where, I mean, looking around each day at magazines, comic strips, newspaper, these mean nothing to children if we do not use it in our classrooms. Use them, I realized that students were like, and they learned so much from it. It's not just, okay, seeing a newspaper anymore or seeing a comic strip. It's actually using it in lessons, teaching them to find the main ideas, teaching them comprehension skills, and just making everything in life. Because one of the issues is that students only see the importance of literacy on the things that they use all around them: prescription, a bus card, an instruction, you know, all those things that we use every single day. We need to help our students to know how to use them properly, because a lot of times we take for granted, you see this every day, you should know how to use it. Are struggling. They are actually struggling because they have no clue, not show them how to use it. And as teachers and in the real literate.
You know, it's amazing. Again, it just feels like we have so many threads that are connecting across the globe of the sorts of things that we believe are empowering for kids. And I love your point of, if it's there in the news, if it's there in the newspaper, if it's something happening around them, it needs to come into the classroom. Like Alex was saying, if we're going to, you know, talk about debate, then let's actually look at issues that people are really debating and struggling with. Sayun, I see that you wanted to jump in if you'd like to.
Hello.
Hi, yes.
Hello.
Hi, yes, hi, you're good.
I just think that the need for mentors cannot be overemphasized. Yeah. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, yeah, perfect.
I think the need for mentors in the work we do cannot be overemphasized. We really need them because they're the ones that, you know, encourage us when we really need it. School teacher who encouraged me while I was in the university. Her name is Dr. Aretha Ashakitipi. And then I mentioned that my mom, has always been encouraging me. And then the librarian will select the honor is Dr. Mrs. Adeton Oyeludi. And she has been, very, very, she has been very, very instrumental in my work of this literacy drive. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Anneli, would you like to jump in?
Sure. So one of my main mentors has been Dr. Marianne Wolf at Tufts University. I worked with her during my master's there, and I think the reason she was such a big mentor for me is because I have dyslexia and didn't find out until I was much older. So I didn't start reading until I was much older. So I actually vividly remember the process of learning how to read because it didn't really happen until middle school. And so one of the things for me that I think is so important, and the reason I am continuing to read, even though it was really hard and I was so behind, is because I had that motivation. And so studying under Marianne Wolf, I got to really understand what was happening in my brain as I was learning how to read, and that actually influenced a lot of my work and influenced me to think a lot about, what is it that keeps children persisting in the face of struggles? Why are children disenfranchised with this process of reading? And how can we really bring it back so that they can be interested and excited and motivated in a personally meaningful way? And so that allowed me to really think about not teaching reading as in you need to learn these specific processes, but actually teaching reading and okay, you like to tell stories. What is it about stories that you like? What kind of stories do you like to tell? How can I show you that by telling these stories, you can actually write them down and then share them with more people? What does that do to your own self-perception and your self-confidence and self-efficacy and feelings of self-worth? Then what does that mean to then be able to share that story? And now you feel very motivated to continue doing that and actually learn how to read. So that's been a whole process that I think through studying under Marianne and being able to understand how the brain works and matching that kind of with my own process and my own experience has really, I think, been a huge influence in my life to think about where I am today and what motivates me and how I want to empower others in that way.
And I mean, isn't it amazing how the people that have connected with you for whatever reason and their ideas, you carry those with you. Those are the things that now, as all of you are talking about, the projects that you're working on, the work that you're doing with students is, you can see how these mentors have colored that work. John, if you'd like to answer this question about who are your mentors?
Sure, so I have 3 that I can think of definitely off the top of my head. My first mentor was Ben Ziff, who mentored me in the New York City Teaching Fellows Program and was later my supervisor when I wound up working for them. And he was a super experienced special education teacher and really showed me the ropes in terms of getting creative with content and how to make it really interesting for special education students, make it appropriately leveled, but also make it so that I worked with high school students, make it so that it's not, 4th or 5th grade content. Give them appropriately leveled content in terms of reading comprehension, but don't give them stuff that's going to look like it belongs in a pre-kindergarten classroom. And he showed me some really, really creative ways to do that. Dr. Peter McDermott at Pace University, where I did my master's, he taught a literacy and humanities course that was just phenomenal and gave so many different tips and pointers on methods that can be used in general education or special education classrooms. And then Kelly Williams, one of my colleagues, we really collaborated over the last 3 years to try and figure out how we can incorporate more tech into our classrooms, take the advantages that technology and technological literacy offer, and apply them to the content to make our content more interesting, more engaging, and more useful for our students.
Thank you. And on Twitter, there's so many of you, and understandably so, are saying, how do I connect with these amazing people? So first of all, for sure, on the link on this page, you can see the link to ILA's 30 Under 30. So you can read more about both this amazing group of educators and others. That link goes directly to this 2016 group. If you then just search online, ILA 30 Under 30, you also will find their 2015 class. Alex Corbett, who's here with us, also just a few minutes ago, while we're all talking, we're also chatting with each other in the chat box. I get to see that. I'm very lucky. So in the chat box, we've been collecting each other's Twitter handles. So Alex just sent that out a few minutes ago over his Twitter handle. And Alex, you're going to add someone else's to the mix?
Yeah, some people are going in and out. So if I haven't tweeted out yet, I'm getting there.
and Nellie's asking, can I share your email with the Twitter group? Because you will get on Twitter after today. You will get on Twitter, but yes, feel free to share email as well. Alex or one of us could share it out. So find Alex's Twitter handle there. You'll find everyone else's, and the Ed Collab handle will be tweeting that out as well too. Oh my gosh, the hour's going so fast. So the next place I'd like to go is so we've talked with all of us here. We've talked about the issues that you saw in the world, the mentors that you went to. ILA today is also tweeting out handles as well. The mentors that you went to, and you are all mentors for all of us. And you also are mentors for people who are just beginning education as well. So for the next question, what do early career teachers need to know about our profession or about their role inside of it? And Marika, if we could start with you.
All right, so first of all, I can say that as a teacher, it is not easy. It will definitely take a whole lot of passion to wanna do. You'll also need to be very persistent, and because who need help with literacy, they normally have funds. Another to you is that you should try new ideas. Do not be afraid to amend. To one of the surprises that I got when I was that methodologies and all that I've had done in college, I had to really, because when I went into the classroom, it was from what the books say, different from what the research said. So I had to one source, amend another source, and put things together to make my from the documents. Another thing is that you need to balance, because from them, it's going to be for them to really what you are teaching them. Well, most of the times you will find that the literacy issues, they already do not believe in themselves. Their parents have given up on them, and all of that need is a discouraging. Teachers definitely need to believe in ourselves and what you know. Yeah, they know, sorry. As I said before, bringing all the things that they use every single day, make it work, show them that this is what, and receptive. If you have activities and stuff like that, and then they will begin to adapt to what you're bringing to them.
Thank you. And we had a little bit of our technology trying to interact with your technology, but I think we caught a good chunk of what you were saying. And if you'd like to, you can also type into the chat box and we'll just shout out the big points. But the points of really believing in them and just having the tenacity to not give up were some big ones I'm taking away from that. So some others of you, who else would like to answer? When you think about what should early career teachers know about our field or about their role inside of it? I'm doing the teacher waiting game. Sure, Alex, go ahead.
I think maybe one of the things that I had to kind of learn sometimes the hard way was as a new teacher, you don't benefit students from trying to teach more and have it be kind of about yourself, and really kind of when I see in my school, like my mentors and like some of these model expert teachers teaching, it's they are kind of decentered in the classroom, and the students are having discussions with each other, and the teacher's role is as facilitator, more behind the scenes to facilitate collaboration and inquiry. So it's almost like an oxymoron, but the best teacher is almost not the teacher in the room. And that is something that is super hard to do, and still trying to kind of figure that out. And that can be nerve-wracking, releasing control and empowering students. And I mean, when young teachers, like all of us, when we first start teaching, sometimes management can be a concern, and when we let go, sometimes things can get messy. But through that messiness comes change, and it can be super exciting.
Just to announce to everyone, Anelli now has a Twitter handle as of right now. Our conversation in the back has been like, we all have it. She said, well, I don't have one yet. And we've basically been piling on. So now we're connected in yet another way. And we're sorry about that, but glad that you joined. Michelle, if you'd like to jump in, go ahead.
Oh, sure. I was just going to say, my biggest piece of advice for an early career teacher would be you're not alone. Even though it might feel like you're the only teacher ever in the entire world, you're not. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are resources for you. And once, I think Twitter is a great place to start. I sort of just discovered it as a really great PLN. So get on Twitter.
Amen. Agreed. And I also would say that Twitter is not just so that we can have ideas together. It also, I believe, more and more is a social justice tool. It's a way where you can engage with people in conversations and communities you're not normally in. I had a great question on Twitter that came up earlier where someone said, Chris, when you're talking about being political, there's an awful lot of teachers I teach with who don't believe the things that I believe, and I don't know if I want them to be political. And while I hear that, and while that frustrates me too, I think that message is important for everyone, that we all have to be more political, because if you're not saying your beliefs and you're not trying to talk about what you believe, we can never engage in a conversation around it. So I 1000% agree, Michelle, that joining Twitter connects us. It also is a way that we're able to engage in conversations that in real life we may shy away from. When I have conversations with people who don't have my political views, I tend to get really quiet sometimes and want to walk away. On Twitter, I actually can just keep talking. So yes to that. Marique's saying she's not. Marique, you're going to get on Twitter too after today. And Wes, what is happening? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Everyone's working on Twitter. So I'd like to end, as we're getting close to the end of our time here. I'm going to give you all a bit of a challenge. Let's see if we can do a lightning round. In 2 to 5 words, obviously you don't have to count them, but in just a very short phrase, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And you could, those couple of words could be something you're working on. It could be who you are. It could be where you're going. But just in a few words, and it looks like Marique will be up next, and then anyone can jump in. In 5 to 10 years, where do you see yourself? Okay, Marique, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I see myself training the educators around the world. That's definitely my passion. And I see myself operating my own literacy clinic.
That's a clinic for adults or for kids? Marique, is the clinic for kids or adults? I know we're on a delay. Okay, I'll see if I can follow up. Okay, someone else. Few words. Where do you see yourself? How about I'll go down the line? I'm going to put you on the spot. Here we go. Alex.
I think I would love to see resources in which we have all these different types of jobs that real people, and professionals do in different kind of ways that students can be activists, and curriculum that kind of connects everything, so that we can never be in a place anymore with not just literacy but math where students are asking, why is this relevant? And we have so many resources to align learning just to real work.
Amazing. Aligning learning to real work. Anelli, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I hopefully graduated. I see myself, well, really being part of a world where, similar to actually Alex, where children are excited to really understand how they learn and what they can learn about, and feeling empowered to go out and kind of understand and explore their own educational potential. And I really want to be a part of that and helping children find a voice, and children and families. So I say children a lot, but I really mean all learners. And that has no age to it. And so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what my exact role will be in that, but I really hope to be a part of that.
Yeah, and children and families. I love that.
Yes.
John.
Like Annalie, I hope to have graduated as well. But
we're with you. All of the audience is saying yes, yes.
So my hope is to start within the next year or two a nonprofit that brings technology to special education students in high need urban areas, to really tap into this sort of unknown talent that exists, and to really improve outcomes for our kids who have very few opportunities. And I hope to be engaging in research that helps other educators to do the same. And I think first and foremost, I'm a teacher. I think I'll always be a teacher. Yeah.
Terrific. And Michelle.
Sure. So I am really excited. I think in 5 to 10 years, I will say my 3 words are 20 million students. That is a goal for Common Lit by 2020. So we are laser focused on that as a metric. We're on track to hit it. It's a big vision, but I think it's something really exciting that, we have technology which can scale so quickly. So.
Awesome. And in all of these, I like how it's a like maybe this thing, or it's a definitely this, and they're all huge. I think that's the thing that's led all of you to the incredible work you're already doing, is you're like, I'm not going to be okay with just like doing the small thing. I'm going to take on something giant, and you're doing it. How about Sean, over to you. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
In 5 to 10 years, I hope to have set up an ultra-modern literacy center that includes a bookstore, a reading center, and a literacy clinic. I also hope to be involved in mentorship, mentoring young people in the field of literacy. And I also hope to have written a lot of scholarly articles that would help forge literacy in my environment. So I would really be doing a lot of work in mentorship, scholarly writing, and in community service.
Awesome, thank you. And so I'd like to turn back over to Wes, because as I understand it, there will be another year of 30 under 30. So we'd like to hear more about that.
Yep. We are going to be continuing this because we definitely feel the need to highlight the great work that people are doing. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us here, and not just for joining us here, but for all the work that you do just in the world, because you make a difference and it's important. And if everyone would like to see more information about about today's speakers, as well as the rest of our 30 under 30 honorees, then I would encourage you to check out the Literacy Today page of literacyworldwide.org, and you'll find links to both years' stories. And if hearing from today's guests has brought to mind someone you think deserves to be on our list, the nominations will officially open in March. And I say officially because, as a special thank you for everyone who's joining us here today, we're going to give you the chance to submit your nominations now.
Oh, wow.
So you can send your nominee's name, age, job title, and contact information, and a brief description of how he or she is going above and beyond in their work to advance literacy. And you can send that to 30under30@reading.org. and we'll confirm that we've received it, and they will be already put on our list when we start the list for next year.
That's totally amazing. So 30 under 30 at reading.org. Nominate people now.
Yes.
Awesome. I want to thank all of you for joining. For Surya, who I know is somewhere with internet that's coming in and out. Sorry that you were here and now lost. He said sorry as he was going. Thanks to all of you. Your work is not only inspiring, but it's something that's changing lives. It's changing children's lives. It's changing the lives of adults that interact with you. I know all of us that are joining here today are walking away with a lot. So thanks to all of you. And thanks to all of you for joining the Ed Collab gathering today. We hope to see you again on April 8th. And even more importantly, we hope that our amazing group of educators here and folks from across the day inspire you to present with us, perhaps to nominate someone you know or even yourself for a 30 under 30 honoree with ILA. And just thank you for all that you do. So have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you again, honorees, and take care. Bye.